Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective, and today will be no different. Today we're going to talk about the common signs and symptoms that you may have a parasite and you don't even know it. Now, I know what you're thinking to yourself. This isn't a video for me because I don't live in a third world country. I don't have to worry about parasites, but here's the thing. According to the CDC, 60% of the population is infected with a parasite. Okay, and I think that number is actually higher, and here's why. Quite often when you go into the doctor, and if you had all of these symptoms, just not one of them, but if you had all of them, quite often doctors don't think to test for parasites. Okay, the thing that typically flags them is if you travel outside of the country. Okay, so if you haven't traveled outside of the country, typically they don't even think parasite. The other thing is that a lot of the tests are actually inadequate to actually test for parasites in many cases. Okay, and the other thing that is really important is that we have a symptom first instead of a cause first approach to healing. Okay, we are always looking to address the symptoms. So these symptoms, when I tell you about a lot of these symptoms could not be connected to a parasite. Okay, and as a result, they're just treating the symptom. It may be a stomach pain. Okay, and so they may treat the stomach pain with something like a NSAID or maybe even, acid reflux. But that's not your issue. Your issue could be a parasite. Okay, so we have this symptom approach to healing that doesn't address the cause, which means that they don't look for the parasite because that's the actual cause. Okay, and here's the other thing that's really important. Most people don't know where they're getting the parasites from, but we're getting parasites from contaminated water. Our water supply here in the US has been tested and they found parasites in our water supply. And people commonly drink tap water when they go out to restaurants, when they're at home, they bathe in it, etc. So, and some parasites can actually burrow through the skin as well too. So we're getting it from contaminated water. We're also getting it from our pets as well too. Now, when I bring this up, people get offended and they're like, no way, I love my dog, I love my cat. My cat and dog are really clean. I take them to the vet. But here's the thing, when you take them to the vet, quite often they give your pets heart dewormers, okay? They give them anti-parasitic medications as well too, because they know that our pets are often infected with parasites, okay? And so that's a huge part as well too. And it's not only, like the pet got infected with it. Some of these parasites are being created inside of the gut of the pet as well too. And what's also important is not just when you're picking up the poo or changing the litter box that you potentially could get affected by a parasite, but they've also tested the saliva of the pets as well too, especially dogs. And under a microscope, if you're just looking at the saliva, you can see the parasites in the saliva. Okay, so hugely important. That's probably one of the number one ways after food. Okay, a lot of our food is infected with parasites, especially meat. And when I say that to people, they're like, well, we always cook our meat, and so the temperature is going to kill the parasites. Well, there are some parasites that can survive high temperatures, okay? And not just high temperatures, but heat. When it comes to cooking, they can survive it as well too. Okay, I was doing a video, you probably saw it, where I talked about salmon and how salmon often has parasites in it. And people were refuting that the salmon had parasites in it. And I showed them, because this is where I learned about it. I was in the Northwest region of the United States in Seattle, and we go out and we're rolling through nature and we come to this river and we see these bears, and this bear is walking through the water, and you can see this long white string hanging out of the back of the bear. It's almost like it was like tied to his butt. And I asked the person that was with us, what is that? And they was like, oh, that's a parasite. I was like, where are they getting it from? They're like, they're getting it from the salmon. Bears love the salmon. And I'm like, well, where does the salmon get it from? It gets it from the water. The parasites literally lay their eggs into the eggs of the salmon, okay? And then eventually they go downstream, and then, the bears eat them, and then the bears get the parasites, okay? So just a huge unknown way that people are being affected by parasites. And it's not only in fish, it's also in pork, it's also in beef as well too. So let's jump into it. First, let's talk about what are some common parasites, okay? I just talked about one, a tapeworm. A tapeworm can be up to 15 to 30 feet. Now, first put that in perspective because our entire digestive system can be up to 30 feet, okay? So your entire digestive system could literally be littered with a tapeworm that's 30 feet, okay? And they have found tapeworms in people, okay? And also what's important as well too, is that sometimes you can see this in your poop. You know, you'll see the eggs and small portions of the tapeworm as well too in your poop as well too. So you have tapeworms. You also have roundworms, okay? And these are pretty dangerous because they can be up to about 13 inches and about the size of the thickness of a pencil, okay? And they can cause painful lesions and rashes that quite often doctors never attribute to a parasite like a roundworm, okay? They can cause a condition known as toxicaria. And that's what happens with toxicaria is when the roundworm now gets into the bloodstream and now is affecting all the organ systems. It literally can affect the organ systems and cause them to shut down, okay? It can get in the eyes and cause puffiness, okay, as well too. So toxicaria can actually be fatal. And again, these roundworms can quite often be found as an origin in the bellies of our pets, okay? Hookworms. And when you look at hookworms under a microscope, they literally look like little hookworms looking to hook into your intestinal system, okay? Into the lining of your intestinal system. And when they hook in, they suck your blood just like a vampire, okay? Which could cause some internal bleeding. So this could be the reason why you possibly have blood in your stool as well. And you also have whipworms, you also have pinworms, and you also have what are called flukes. Fluke worms actually can affect your liver and your bowel duct system, okay? So your gallbladder issue or your inability to emulsify fats or your liver issue, the reason why your liver enzymes are elevated, it could be a result of fluke worms, okay? And fluke worms also can infect the blood as well too. All right, so that's just a few of the parasites. There are many more, but I don't think for what we're talking about today, I don't think that's the important part. So let's get into some of these signs and symptoms that could be a sign and symptom that you have a parasite, okay? And when I think about it, I was going through the list of all these signs and symptoms. And as I look back before I started my health journey and started detoxing, specifically with herbs that attack parasites, I had, if I give you 16, I probably had like 10 of them, okay? And so I can't say that I ever took a look back and sort of squabbled through, you know, my bowel movements, but I have done detoxes. As you guys know, I do group detoxes. I have done group detoxes where I have noticed I've seen some parasites, okay? So sign and symptom number one, digestive issues, because a lot of the parasites that I just mentioned, like the tapeworm, the roundworm, the hookworm, are specifically attacking the digestive system. So you're going to have digestive issues because a parasite is what a parasite is. A parasite doesn't live in balance with you. A parasite takes from you. This is why we call a person in our life who is just a taker a parasite, okay? So they're just taking from you and also creating imbalance and dysfunction and dis-ease as well too. And so quite often, if most of them are going to be concentrated, because most people don't have one type of parasite, they'll have multiple types of parasite. So you're going to create digestive issues. You're going to have gas, bloating, constipation, things of that nature. So number one, digestive issues, okay? Number two, potential heart palpitations. And why? Because it could be a sign of a hookworm. A hookworm can get into the heart tissues and cause those type of issues. And again, you have to remember, when you have parasites, it's not just one, it's going to be thousands, potentially millions, okay? Because they lay their eggs And not only do they lay their eggs, but they create their own waste. And that waste is also toxic to the body as well, too. So number 2, heart palpitations. Number 3, multiple deficiencies, okay? And that's what I'm noticing when I work with people one-on-one. What I'm noticing is that they don't typically have just one deficiency, they have multiple deficiencies. And the reason why is because, again, you have to go back to what a parasite is. A parasite is a taker. So when you eat your food and you're trying to get the nourishment from it, instead of you getting the nourishment, that those parasites are consuming all of the nourishment to feed themselves, okay? And that is a clear sign of a parasite. A parasite will literally eat and consume you to death and not realize in the process it's killing itself. That is a parasite, okay? And so this is why it can cause multiple deficiencies, because again, the food that you're eating to nourish your body, it's nourishing itself so that you don't get the nourishment from it. Because a lot of these parasites are not only in the gut, but they're also in the stomach as well too. Number 4, random abdominal pains. Random abdominal pains, okay? And sometimes it'll be consistent. But if you're getting random abdominal pains, I want you to just think about it. If you got a 30-foot tapeworm in you, and also hookworms, and also roundworms, and also pinworms, okay? You have all of those in you. Of course, you're going to have some digestive issues, and of course, you're going to have some abdominal pain as well too, all right? Number 5, chronic fatigue. And a lot of the fatigue is going to come from the fact that you're malnourished and deficient, okay? But also because it's also going to eventually affect the brain as well too, okay? So chronic fatigue as well too. Number 6, foul smelling bowel movements. I mean, the kind of bowel movement that, you know, when you come out, like you're running out of the bathroom and you're telling people you don't need to go in there for 10, 20 minutes, okay? When your bowel movements smell that bad, it could be potentially a sign that you have a parasite as well too. You got to remember what I was saying. When you have a parasite, you not only got to worry about the waste you're creating, but you also got to worry about the waste that's being created by the parasite too, okay? Because again, it's consuming all of your nourishment, okay? It's creating its own waste, which is actually toxic to the body as well too. Another sign and symptom, number 7, never feeling full after meals, okay? Now, here's a really big key that it could be a potential parasite. You never feel full after meals. So you ever heard somebody say, man, you eat so much, it's like you got a tapeworm. It's like you got a parasite. Well, it could be true, okay? And one of the signs and symptoms that it could definitely be true is when you eat and eat and eat, but you actually lose weight instead of gain weight. That could definitely be a sign and symptom that you have a parasite, okay? Another sign and symptom, number 8, is itchy soles of the feet, okay? If the bottom of your feet feel itchy, that definitely could be a sign of a parasite as well too. Number 9, an itchy anus, so an itchy butthole, okay? Especially at night. As you guys know, when it comes to parasites, they wake up at night. So the freaks come out at night. All right, you remember that song, The Freaks Come Out at Night? So the freaks come out at night, especially if you have that itching at night, it could definitely be a parasite, okay? Skin issues. And the reason why is because when it comes to skin issues, when you have parasites, certain parasites trigger an antibody known as IgE. Okay, this antibody will trigger the immune system to start to create these allergic reactions that cause you to have skin issues. Okay, I was talking about it earlier with the roundworms, but with roundworms, what you'll notice is that it can create a condition known as toxicara that I told you about before. And that toxicara is these, I mean, it looks like psoriasis or a very severe form of it. It's red, it's lesions, it's rashes, all over the body, okay? That means that the roundworm has gotten into the blood system and now it's everywhere in the body because the blood goes everywhere in the body. So it can lead to all types of skin issues causing the immune system to go haywire, okay? Number 11, unhealthy cravings. Unhealthy cravings, especially for sugar. So if you know, and here's the thing about sugar. Sugar is by far the socially accepted addiction. okay? We will just say, oh, I just got a little sweet tooth, or I need something sweet to eat after, okay? And if you are getting these sort of cravings, especially at night, you got to remember what I said about the parasites. The freaks come out at night. If you're getting these cravings where you got to have some bread, it's not just cakes, cookies, and pies. You got to have some bread, you got to have some crackers, you got to have that at night. You're always triggered to want some ice cream. That is probably a sign and symptom that your taste buds have been hijacked, and that is not coming from you, it's coming from the parasite. Okay, so you'll have unhealthy cravings. Okay, so you'll have unhealthy cravings for not only sugar, but unhealthy cravings for unhealthy food as well too. All right, so I give you a salad and I put the salad in front of you, you eat a little bit of it, and then 10 minutes later, you don't eat it all. You're ordering something from Uber Eats. Okay, and the thing that you order from Uber Eats isn't healthy. Okay, that could be a sign and symptom that you have a parasite. Okay, number 12, anemia. Okay, anemia, low iron in the blood. Okay, and why is that? Because some of the parasites actually feed on your red blood cells, specifically the hookworm. Okay, and so your anemia could be coming from the fact that you have a parasite, hookworm in particular. I've noticed this with people, people who buy my herbal iron. For those who it corrects their iron, what that mean was they wasn't getting the iron through their diet. Okay. And when I see people on the rare occasion who take my herbal iron and they unfortunately it doesn't help with their symptoms of anemia, or it doesn't help to raise their iron, is more than likely a parasite. And I tell them to do my detox, and I'll tell you why in a minute, okay? But it's really important to understand that these conditions cause deficiencies, and one of the number one deficiencies that they can cause is anemia, okay? Not only for the fact that the parasites are consuming your iron when you eat it, also from the fact, as I mentioned before, the parasites like a hookworm can cause internal bleeding, and that bleeding leads to low iron as well too. Okay. Number 13, grinding your teeth, especially while you're sleeping. Okay. So if you got a hubby, a wifey, and they tell you that, hey, you grind your teeth when you sleep. Did you notice that? They call it bruxism. Okay. But if you grind your teeth while you sleep at night, you got to remember what I told you. The freaks come out at night. Okay. So if you're one of those teeth grinders, and ultimately that's going to lead to dental issues, but that is also a sign and symptom that you could possibly have a parasite as well too. Number 14, insomnia, problems with sleeping. Not only with problems with going to sleep, but throughout the night, waking up constantly throughout the night as well too. Again, you got to remember what I said. The freaks come out at night. Okay. Number 15, joint and muscle pain. Joint and muscle pain, and a lot of that could be caused by the roundworms. Okay. Remember what I said, the roundworms can get into the blood system and go everywhere in the body. And that's what could be causing the inflammation. That's what could also be causing a lot of the joint pain and muscle pain as well too, especially when there's no need for you to have joint and muscle pain. Okay. And number 16, our final one, is brain fog. Okay. Brain fog. The roundworms, you have to remember the gut is the second brain. Okay. And chronologically, when you think about it, the gut is really the first brain. And the reason why I say that is because our brains actually develop off of our gut, which develops before our brain. Okay, so our first real nervous system and brain is actually in our gut as a fetus, and then our brain and nervous system that we know actually develops off of the gut. So a lot of the communication, when you're thinking about some of that nervous system activity, a lot of it is actually coming from our gut first. Okay, you would think a lot of the communication is actually coming from our brain and then telling our gut or our bodies what to do. But a lot of the communication is actually originating in the gut. So this is why when you have an unhealthy gut littered with parasites, it can lead to a condition like brain fog, where you have this inability to concentrate, you can't focus, you can't remember something. it affects your brain in that way too. So those are the signs and symptoms that you potentially have a parasite, okay? And the reason why that's so important is because, again, most people aren't accounting for parasites. Most people don't know they have parasites, and most people don't know how they're getting parasites. And there are a number of things that you can do to help with parasites, but one of the most effective is to use certain herbs that help with parasites. Things like Paul d'Arco, things like burdock, black walnut hull, and in different combinations. And so that's one of the things I was talking about earlier inside of my full body detox. All of those, not only are all of those herbs in there, but other herbs are in there as well to address these parasites. So what you'll notice is when you get my detox, you'll get a parasite candida cleanse. And this parasite candida cleanse kills intestinal parasites, also gets rid of a lot of the yeast, which is actually another video we need to talk about as well too. Having a yeast overgrowth cleanses out the kidneys, the liver, and also helps to restore some of the good bacteria in your gut as well too. Okay, so you get a parasite candida cleanse. You also get this Tommy detox as well too. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the parasites. So again, if any number of these signs and symptoms apply to you, let's say you had maybe 3 out of the 4, you could potentially have a parasite. Now, having one of these signs and symptoms does not mean that you actually have a parasite. It could be a contributor to something else. But if you have multiple of these signs and symptoms, and I gave you like 16 today, it could be a definite sign that you have a parasite. And as I said before, the CDC says that 60% of the population has a parasite, and I think that number is actually higher. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed the video. Until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.